There are many things in the spirit. People normally don't understand them. I remember about, how many years ago? A few years ago. A man went to a church and he went and took communion. Then after that, he died. Shortly after the communion, I think after the communion, he just went home and something happened and the guy died. So another person called me, very furious. What kind of church is this? Where people go and take communion and they die. So, am I sure the church is a correct church? How can somebody go to a church and take communion and die? So, I told a friend who called me to tell me that thing. I said, you are operating in ignorance. Communion does not only give life. You can, and it doesn't kill, but you can take communion and die. He said, how? I said, the Bible said that he that eats the communion, but does not discern the body, but eats the communion unworthily. He said the person can be weak, the person can be sick, and the person can even die. So I told him that, as a matter of fact, the problem is not somebody who went and took communion and died. The problem is the number of people who are taking the communion and they are not dying. I think there should be more deaths. Because I tell you, for every communion service, the number of people who are eating that communion unworthily, those that are fornicating and still eating the communion, those that are lying and still eating the communion, those that are sitting in the church and they are bitter against the pastor, very angry against the church and still eating the communion. If God really wants the communion to kill, we need mass graves. If you can clap your hands, you won't die. Now, sometimes, don't you get surprised that Ananias and Sapphira died, but you are still alive? Ananias and Sapphira, I'll talk about them this week. They sold the land, they kept back part of the money. When they brought the others and pretended it was the whole thing, they died. Sunday, we received tithe. Those who didn't tithe are still alive. Those who raised money, which was not 1/10, they brought one. I nearly said 1 tooth. If there's 10, then there must be tooth. Or they brought 1 second. Some brought 2%. Are you sure? Last Sunday, when we received our tithe, everybody paid a tithe. That the whole month, the blessing God gave you, you managed to put everything down and you calculated it and paid your tithe, 10% of everything God gave you the month. Are you sure? Including money people dash you. Maybe a shirt somebody gave you, you valued it and calculated the tithe. We are here because of the mercies of God. The mercies of God. If not, the mercy of God will not be standing. So the person said, oh, you know, somebody took the communion and the person died. And so I said, you know what, my friend? There is no guarantee that you cannot take communion and die. You can eat it unworthily and it will affect you.